Hey, what's up? It's Sam. Well, we have our first patch notes here, and I will say, I just want from a high level perspective here, it's insane how fast GGG is turning this around. Like, this is incredible. Like, from a gamer who's never interacted with the studio and who's only interacted with studios like Blizzard or like Blizzard Activision, I guess it's the same now, EA, but really just like studios that do not care about you, do not care about you as the player or what your opinion is. This is a breath of fresh air. And I will say, I am excited about the future of Path of Exile 2 because of it. So I just wanted to briefly go over the patch notes with you and kind of from my perspective what they are and what they are not, and how they're going to really boost the game or tear down the game. I think the majority of these changes are great. So first off, the dodge roll changes. I know for me, because I am playing a melee class, getting stuck in between mobs is insane. And it's frustrating, and especially with the poor network conditions that I do have, it just makes the game unplayable almost at times, because I'll get into a situation where I'll be backed into a corner and I won't be able to do anything even without my skills, and I can't tell what I'm doing because of other network issues, but I get backed into a corner a lot and just body blocked. So having the dodge roll being set to 0 pass through is going to be amazing. So you're basically going to be able to dodge roll through any mobs, and that's going to be huge. I know one of the other complaints from other players were the size of the map, and I don't think for me it really was an issue. The only issue I was kind of having was the resetting of mobs every time you died. I don't know if they're going to change that. That's probably a mechanic they want to keep. But they did fix both of those issues, kind of, with the checkpoint changes. So basically what's going to happen, you're going to be able to click on a checkpoint on any place in the map, and you're going to be able to teleport to other checkpoints in that same map. So they have to be explored, though. They can't just be hidden in the fog of war. So checkpoints are going to be also added to entrances and exits of the zone, but I'm assuming the exit will have to be found. So you can't just like enter the zone, touch that checkpoint, and immediately find the exit to the zone. You'll have to find the exit yourself and then be able to teleport. A checkpoint has been added to the midpoint of the first Dreadnought area. I haven't reached this point in the game, so I can't really comment on that. And it sounds like they're watching the situation with checkpoints. Just a huge win, I think, for the overall kind of flow of the game. It really, from what I understood, and I kind of started to experience this, the flow of maps was really hindered because the player doesn't have, number one, a ton of mobility skills or a lot of run speed. And so it was a little bit of a slog at times. And I think as you get, from what I assume, as you get further along in endgame, that slog increases. So this is hopefully a welcome change to those players who were really upset by that. Now this next one, item changes. This is what I'm interested in one of the most. So one of the things that, I'm a software developer in real time in my real job, and one of the things that I find interesting is thinking about what these changes mean from a technical side of things. So the main problem is that players were feeling that there's not enough loot. And one of the main areas that I thought interesting about this announcement is that they have to be very careful when adjusting, because it's hard to reduce drops if they increase them by too much. That is interesting. And I know people would just think it's like a switch you can flip on and off, but there are cascading implications for making that sort of decision. It's like, do we turn this on? And even on the player side, there's cascading implications, because that would affect the economy of the game. That also affects how the game interacts with vendors and such. So those are just to scratch the surface of some other things. I bet there are other technical limitations to being able to roll back how much items drop. So it's probably kind of, I believe them on this. Like it's like if you open those floodgates, you can't close them back up. So I'm glad that they're being careful about this, but at the same time, I'm also glad that they're noticing the player feedback and they're listening. This is like if you've ever played old school RuneScape and how the development process goes there, this is feeling more and more like that. The development process at old school RuneScape is that developers will pitch an idea to the player base. The player base will then vote on the idea, and then the developers will decide to do that whether depending on the vote of the players. Now that in few recent months has kind of been falling apart, but the general idea is the same, is that the devs are listening to the players and making their decisions based off directly of those players' decisions. So the next one, rare monster changes. You know, I have at times come across rare monster drops where they just like dropped white items, and I was like, that doesn't feel right. And it wasn't bothering me too much, but I would get into these intense fights where they weren't like super intense, but they were like, you know, a step above what a normal mob, a pack of mobs would do. And I killed them, and there was really no reward. And it, you know, it wasn't like terrible feeling, like it broke the game for me or anything, but it wasn't like amazing. And so I'm happy that they're under the itemization sort of things, that they're increasing the bonus of rares of drops from rares. So basically what they're doing is they're just kind of giving a little percentage buff to the quality of items and the quantity of items that drop from rares. So I'm excited about that. We'll see how that actually plays out in game, and we'll see what happens there. Currency changes. Now, one of the issues that I brought up in my first impressions from a beginner video of early access is I briefly highlighted on this. It was basically that the game feels like it wants you to craft things, but then the drops don't support that. So like it feels like you should be crafting something, but there's not enough materials to craft those things properly. And so this currency change will hopefully alleviate that issue. That issue was also compounded by the fact that items weren't changes. So I'm hoping that the combination of item changes and currency changes will have an impact on crafting overall. I was watching a stream. I like to watch streamers once in a while, and I'm a big Crip OG fan. I started watching him back when he did hardcore Diablo 3, and he was the first one to do it. Yeah, go Crip. So he was creating something end game, and I didn't really understand the system yet because I hadn't got there myself. But he basically said, yeah, I just ran a whole map, and I got a regal orb, and that was it. So hopefully this currency changes, these currency changes to help the end game as well. And it looks like some of the details around that will do that. So regal orb drops, that's a huge increase right there. And then this is going to be good. And the disenchanting side of things is great to me because they're thinking about the whole system. And they reduced the drop rate of chaos orbs. I will say I have obtained more chaos orbs than I have of any other orb. So that's going to be, they kind of reduced the piece of the pie that chaos orbs have. I haven't got to gem cutters prisms yet. I'm not sure what those are, so I can't really speak to those. So map mod changes. I think this is an end game system, and I don't have much to comment on this. Again, I'm just working through the game slowly but surely. I am a beginner to this game, so I think this will be good overall because I'm just melding it in with that. This is huge. I know I've played games where you had drop protection for being unlucky, and one of the things I remember distinctly in one was I played World of Warcraft Legion, and in Legion everybody had legendaries, and you could get them as random drops from certain activities, but they were still hard to obtain, and that made them feel legendary. And I remember in the first patch I was playing a shaman, and I really needed this set of legendary gloves, and they would not drop. I did every activity to make them try to drop, and they would not drop. And I hadn't got a legendary at all on that character. And finally, I think this was before the unlucky drop protection had been implemented in WoW at that time, but finally I had done everything. I'd killed all the raid bosses. I'd done all the weekly quests, everything that could have, a source that could have dropped that. And I think I was playing, I can't remember what it was, but I killed a raid boss and it finally dropped, and it was such a great feeling. Now, every feeling leading up to that great feeling was not great. So that's where the unlucky protection comes in. And I hope that this changes a good amount for the player base, that they're not going to complain. One of the things that I've found interesting about the few days of this early access is that, customers, basically, where the players are customers, they're complaining loud. And I don't think it's warranted. I think everybody's spun up and really had super duper high expectations for this game, rightfully so, but I think the game for me has met those expectations, and everybody just wants to complain because it's the internet. Unfortunately, that's the case, but I don't really like to listen to that noise. I make my own decisions, and my decision is that the game is freaking great, you guys, and I'm playing the heck out of it when I can. So I don't like to listen to Reddit. I do occasionally read it, but I'm kind of adverse to glomming onto those ideas. So yeah, they're just noise to me. Click to move. I use WASD, so this doesn't really do anything for me. And I can't speak to in-game maps because I haven't gotten there yet. I will get there soon. I'll be making videos on my impressions of the end game and the end game systems. I'll be doing a breakdown of each end game system and what it's like to play those as a beginner to this whole series. So yeah, be looking for that. Anyways, I'll link these patch notes in the description below, and I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys being a part of this channel. If you have any comments or any ideas for what you'd like to see me do next, just post them down below. I really appreciate all the support I've been getting. It's phenomenal, and I love doing this, and I hope you like watching my videos. So if you do like this video, like it, subscribe if you want to see more of the same, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.